This video will demonstrate how and when to operate in offline mode in WorkFlows. You'll want to use offline mode when, for whatever reason, you can't connect to the servers. So I've disconnected this laptop from the internet, so if I try to log in as normal, I hit OK, and then you'll see this unknown host. So I hit OK. And then in the configuration screen, the first checkbox here, operate in offline mode, needs to be checked. That'll let us get into offline mode. Now it's very important to always leave this checkbox, this window on next startup. It's always important to leave that checked, because if you don't have it checked, the only way to get into offline mode would be through the menu in WorkFlows, and you can't get to that menu if you can't log into WorkFlows. So basically you're locked out until the next time you're online. If you get this configuration screen show up, you got this operate in offline mode option, which is what we'll check here. I hit OK. And now you're going to see the WorkFlows interface, but it's going to look pretty different. You're going to see a lot more options across the top here that you don't normally see. But the key thing is to notice that, okay, yes, we are in offline mode. For all these options, it's not going to let you do anything. If you try to do any cataloging, I do call number and item maintenance, it says cannot run wizard in offline mode. It's going to give you the same for anything in any of these modules other than offline mode. So you'll see here I'll hit checkout, and this is good. It's forcing me to review my session settings, because this review settings each session is checked. This is going to give me the same thing as if I just did an offline session. So you come in here, and it's very important to come in here and set the default due date. If you don't have a default due date, all of your transactions that you do while you're in offline mode will not have a due date, and then when those transactions get synced back to our servers the next time you're online, they're still not going to have a due date. So it's very important to set a due date here. So we see it's May 1st here. Let's say we'll pick the 22nd, because most items seem to circulate at about 3 weeks. We hit OK. Now you've got a default due date that's going to show up here. For the rest, these fields should all default to your library, because this was the last user account I logged in as, Cochrane Circulation, and it's defaulting the Cochrane Public Library. If these don't show up as your library, you can just hit the drop down and pick your library from the list. And then same thing for the user access, pick your user access from the list with whatever login you normally use, whether it's Super, Tech, or Circulation. The current date and current time you shouldn't have to worry about. All it's doing is grabbing the system time from the computer that you're on. And then log directory you also shouldn't have to worry about. What's happening when you're working in offline mode is that you don't have access to your patron records, your cataloged items records, your library settings, your library rules, your circulation map. All of that stuff resides on the server, and you can't currently connect to the server. So what offline mode allows you to do is that it's just going to write the transactions just as this patron ID took out this item at this time, and it's due back on this date. And that's all it's writing to the file. It doesn't know what that number refers to. It just knows, okay, this number took this number, and it's due back this day. If your patrons don't have their cards, you won't be able to circulate to them, because, like I said, you can't look them up by name like you normally would when you're in offline mode, because you don't have access to their records. If they don't have their number, you're not going to be able to circulate to them in offline mode. So that's good. We've reviewed our settings. Like I say, the default due date is the absolute key thing to do here. So I hit OK. And now this is the list of wizards that you have access to. It's very limited because, like I say, you don't have access to any of your settings or anything like that, or any of your records. So here's what is possible. We can do a new user registration all this is going to do is it's going to write all this information to a file, and then the next time you're online, it's going to sync up with that file and create a new user as if you had done just that. The user ID is where you scan the barcode, and everything else you fill out as normal, as little or as much as you want, because you won't have internet access. So if you just want to put in name and fill out the rest later, as long as you give them a barcode, you can hit OK, or I'll cancel because I'm not actually going to register somebody right now. Check out. The interface looks pretty simple. Like I said, all it's doing is this user is taking this item out and it's due back on this date. We can see that the default due date is May 22nd, like we picked when we reviewed our session settings. If you want to change this, you can, because let's say they're taking out a DVD and it only goes for a week. You can pick, okay, that's just going to be back in a week. But like I say, it's important to have a default due date here so that at least something shows up here, because if it's blank, again, it's just going to stay blank when it syncs back to the system. So I'll do a quick one here. I will scan a patron card. And you see the cursor jumps down to the item ID. And then I'll scan an item. Eventually. Or I'll type it in. You check out item to user, and then you see in the transaction log here it says this item is due back this day, it's out to this user. This is all it looks like in the file. So then we'll hit close. Discharging looks even shorter than that. It's got the date of discharge, which is just grabbing the date, today's date. Item ID, you scan the item. Let's see if it'll scan for me now. And it did. So then we can see that same item just got discharged. And I hit OK. Item ID required. Oh. Sorry, OK was for if your scanner scanned the item but didn't have a carriage return after that. So right now this field is blank, so that's why I got that message. But when you're done, you can just hit cancel, and that's done. So that's checking out and checking in or discharging. You can renew an item. Same idea, you just scan a barcode in here. You'll see the item ID and the alternate due date show there. Cancel out of that. And then renew reserve we don't use because we don't do reserves. And that's it. If you try to hit help, we're in offline mode, so I don't think it's going to do much of anything. It's thinking about it. Right. So we see that because we're in offline mode, it doesn't show us much of anything. So that's all there is to actually using offline mode. Now in the past, when you would use offline mode, the Jazzy Help Desk required you to call in the next time you were online to let us know to go run the reports, to do that whole looking for the files to capture them, to resync your system from your offline transactions into onto the server now that you're back online. You're no longer required to give us a call. We run the reports a few times every day, so as long as you're connected and you're online, at some point the report's going to run and it's going to grab your file, and once it syncs up the transactions, it removes the file. So there's nothing to do. You don't have to call us. You can call us if you want, but like I say, there's no need to call us anymore. We just we run those reports 3 times a day. And that's all there is to offline mode. If you ever have any problems with it or any questions, please feel free to contact the help desk and we'll give you a hand with that.